There we go. I think you can hear me now, correct?
We have you. Yep.
Yes. Hi. Good morning, committee members. My name is Lora Romney, and I'm actually a 9-year Kratom consumer. And I am also the president of International Plant and Herbal Alliance, which is a 501c3 that really focuses on educating communities throughout the United States, various cities and states. Actually, I was even able to educate Ray, North Dakota, which was pretty exciting a couple of weeks ago. But the reason why I'm here is because I really want to echo a lot of the things that were stated, especially about pain control. Let me tell you quickly about my story. I have been a chronic pain patient for 14 years. I have a condition called trigeminal neuralgia, which is a severe facial nerve disease, often nicknamed the suicide disease. I've been through the gamut. Brain surgery, a stimulator implanted in my face, over 30 pharmaceuticals, and I was finally ended up on opioids, prescribed opioids, but a very low dose. I was just desperate because the pain was still so severe. And a trusted friend of mine suggested Kratom, and I thought, well, let's give it a shot. And my life changed that day. That was 9 years ago, and I quickly was able to discontinue all opioids and all other medications. Actually, I'm only taking Kratom for pain relief. It is not a complete cure. I still have really bad days, and I still deal with pain every day, but it absolutely has saved my life, and I'm not alone. There are a lot of individuals out there just like me that will be absolutely abandoned. Like the first gentleman said, people just cannot access pain medication anymore. It's just a real problem, and it's so difficult for us as pain patients, even those with anxiety and issues of PTSD, sit back and see governments making these critical decisions that impact our lives, and they just don't understand what it really does. A lot of times we're just too sick to show up at a hearing. We don't know about it. And, I really stand up for people like me who really do depend on the natural leaf. I've never taken 7-OH, nor will I ever take 7-OH. I absolutely advocate only for natural leaf Kratom. And the push we have is regulation. That is the key. It does not need to be the Wild West. Actually, I absolutely do not want that. I want everything that's in regulation. I want an age gate, 21 and up. Make sure the packaging has, no attractive to children. It's sold behind the counter to adults only. Make sure it's laboratory tested. So that way people can know that what they're taking has not, doesn't have heavy metals and things like that. And, most importantly, make sure those levels of 7-OH are below that 2% line, which is the natural level for 7-OH in the actual natural leaf plant. So again, you may not know a lot about Kratom, but it's just a powder that I literally drink in a blender bottle, and I drink it. And the best part about it is it does not make me feel altered. I took so many pharmaceuticals that literally made me where I couldn't even drive because they had such bad effects. And literally, it is like I'm me again taking Kratom. So that's why it's been an absolute miracle for me. If you noticed, a few years ago, no one even knew what Kratom was. No one even heard about it. A few people did here and there, but where this started coming, all the discussions about the deaths and the poison control and all the problems were right when 7-OH was introduced into the market. There were thousands of people all across the country that were taking Kratom natural leaf with really very few problems. And now 7-OH hits the market and it blows up. And so again, I just highly suggest that you really look at the facts, look at the science, look at the poison control data, see that it absolutely corresponds with those 7-OH products. Also, I want to say one last thing about the Kratom-related deaths. Those are Kratom-related deaths. That means that was a small substance. You could say there's a Benadryl-related death. There is a Tylenol-related death. All those products may show up in the blood, but in most of the cases, they include things like fentanyl, which is, as you know, is a very lethal product. So again, I just want to plead with you to remember my face and remember the faces of the pain patients out there who will be impacted by a natural Kratom leaf ban. And I really appreciate your time and attention, and I'm open for any questions.
Questions from the committee. Representative Porter.
Thank you, Chairman Heinert. So I guess my question kind of stems off of some of the things you said about laboratory testing and making sure that levels of 7OH are below 2%. And how do we as a state put that kind of a regulatory framework in place, and who pays for it?
Yeah, so my suggestion is to do a product registration, because there is a thing called a certificate of analysis that every product that is sold has to have, or they should have. And so that shows that all of the levels have been tested. It shows actually what's in the product, so that you understand that that's what is actually in the product is what is on the label. And so if you were to actually, create some system where you had product registration fees and things to try to kind of pay for some of that, the great thing is once the individual who is the vendor or the retailer has proven, hey, this is what I want to sell, you see the COA and say, yes, this is a safe product. And then you say, great, that checks off all the boxes, and that goes on our list, our registration list. So that way, all the inspectors can go in and say, oh, check, 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 check. Yep, those products all qualify because they have been analyzed and they are allowed to be in there. So that's, I think, the best way to do it, because then you've shown that, these are tested products, and you have reined in those, the Wild West and focused on those certain products that pass.
May I continue?
You may continue.
Thank you. So then your product registration format, would that take care of then also what I would see as the chemists and the plant specialists' ability to do hybrid type plants that will increase the natural chemical formula of the product? And we've seen that in marijuana, where they've been able to increase the levels over time with hybriding and other abilities that they do in the greenhouses. Are we going to see a greenhouse effect for this product?
Very good question. And we already see, excuse me, people out there that are trying to create the next thing up, now that 7OH is going to be banned. So my suggestion is put in your law that you ban all synthetic derivatives. There you go. Because all you're doing is natural leaf, the natural quantities, and if you have any synthetic derivatives, it's gone.
So, Mr. Chairman, and I understand that, but I guess I'm wondering what happens when the agronomist is able to increase the percentages in the plant as a natural leaf.
Oh,
Is there?
I see. To alter.
How do we stop the hybriding of the natural leaf? Because that's going to be the next game that's going to happen.
Well, it is just a tree that's grown, and I know it does vary a little bit depending on where the tree is growing, like the time it's harvesting, and the various areas. So it can fluctuate a little bit in how much 7OH and things are in, and those different alkaloids. And by the way, I was at a symposium. It was really fascinating to see all the different alkaloids and the different areas where it was grown, how different alkaloids actually have higher values. So there are some differences, but realize it is a plant, it's a tree that's grown in Indonesia, and I don't foresee like the Indonesians coming up with a hybrid at this point where they're altering, they're almost genetically altering those trees. It's a very vibrant industry over there, and again, as long as you consistently keep it with the actual tree and the leaf, then I think you're good. But that's a good question. I mean, who knows what the future is going to bring, but I don't see that. I see more of the chemical lab. I see the lab altered things. So them, again, taking a synthetic derivative and creating a mess. And so again, make sure you have that synthetic derivative and absolutely require those COAs. Then you can get rid of any products that don't pass muster.
Mr. Chairman, and
You may continue.
just one last little question.
Sure.
Just to your knowledge then, is there any kratom plants or trees that you know of that are being grown or harvested out of a greenhouse type setting?
Honestly, the only places in the United States that are grown is typically there's some in Florida and some in Hawaii because it's a very tropical, they're really difficult plants to grow. So no, it's not something, gosh, I certainly would kill it, but there's not very many people that could actually grow that. But you know, in a sense, you probably could. They're large trees as well. They're very large trees. And so it would be a little bit tricky to be able to grow it, but I'm sure a very skilled greenhouse person may be able to do it, but that's not going to be, you know, definitely not in North Dakota. Let's put it that way.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.